Chosen one, stop scrolling. Heaven is speaking directly to you. Everything in the spirit realm has shifted, and you're feeling the tremble of that divine earthquake in your soul. This isn't just a feeling, it's a summons. The final angelic order has been activated over your life, and it carries irreversible weight. Something eternal is unfolding. You are not listening to this by mistake. This is not chance. This is divine orchestration. The heavens have paused to deliver a command into your spirit. The warfare, the isolation, the strange sense that something massive was looming, it's all coming into focus. The veil has lifted. The delay is over. The spiritual dispatch has begun. From the very beginning, your life has not followed the ordinary course. Others moved forward easily, while you had to wrestle with storms just to breathe. That's because you've been marked, set apart, destined. And now the realm of angels, the highest echelon of heavenly warriors, has been released on your behalf. This is not about a blessing. This is about a commissioning. God did not call you to survive this world. He called you to change it. Even in your lowest moments, there was something inside of you that wouldn't die. That was your purpose. When others gave up, you kept moving. When others caved under pressure, you stood shaking. Maybe, but standing. That is not normal. That is the trait of the chosen. You were designed with spiritual infrastructure that others don't carry. And now, your divine architecture is about to be revealed. This isn't motivational. This is spiritual revelation. There is a cosmic order now surrounding you. Look around. What you see is not the full story. While the natural realm looks stagnant, the supernatural realm is erupting with activity. Archangels are realigning timelines. Messenger angels are sealing documents with your name on them. Warring angels are being stationed around you like pillars of fire. You feel different because you are different. You sense intensity because heaven is speaking. You hear this now because your spirit is finally in position. This is not a moment of coincidence. This is a moment of consequence. If you were to turn your back now, if you were to doubt this holy interruption, you would be stepping away from a door that only opens once in a generation. But I know you won't, because you're not just interested, you're activated. You've been asking why things feel heavier lately, why your spirit is restless, why things that used to comfort you now irritate you. It's because you've outgrown the old version of yourself. You're molting. The old skin of survival is peeling off. The new garment of authority is being placed on your shoulders. There is a reason the warfare increased. It's because your name just got mentioned in heaven's war room. When angels are activated, so is hell. But hear this. What opposes you now is not stronger than what walks with you. You are not alone. You've been assigned heavenly firepower. You've been issued supernatural defense. You are being moved into a position of strategic influence for such a time as this. The final angelic order is not for everyone. It is reserved for those whom heaven trusts to carry glory. You don't just carry anointing, chosen one. You carry weight. Governmental weight. Breakthrough weight. Deliverance weight. That's why the enemy came for you so early. He knew that if you ever discovered who you are, he'd lose entire regions of influence. So here you are, on the edge of revelation, at the gate of manifestation, and the trumpet has been sounded. Don't ignore the sound. Don't second-guess the stir in your belly. This is the word your soul has been waiting for. This is not encouragement. This is emergency activation. This is spiritual deployment. You are about to walk in power that silences rooms. grace that causes demons to tremble, wisdom that unlocks destinies. You are not a follower, you are a forerunner. You were never meant to take cues from culture. You were born to take orders from heaven. Isaiah 41:10 proclaims, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." That word is living, breathing, and moving right now in your atmosphere. God is not only with you, He is surrounding you, commanding angelic legions to establish what He declared over your life before you were even born. Everything is aligning. Everything is changing. Heaven has spoken. And now the earth must respond. You will no longer walk as if you are unsure. You will no longer dim your light to make others comfortable. You will no longer apologize for the authority that rests upon your spirit. It is time to move boldly, speak fiercely, live prophetically. The final angelic order was not activated to make you feel better. It was activated to position you as a weapon. You are heaven's answer in human form. Right now, if this word has gripped your soul, if your spirit is trembling, if your heart knows this is divine timing, I want you to pause and type 777 in the comments. That is the prophetic sign that you are in agreement with what heaven is declaring over you. That is your way of stamping this decree with spiritual ink. This is not the end of your story. This is the chapter where everything shifts. This is not your breaking point. This is your birthing point. God has chosen you. And now, the angels are moving because of it. You were never ordinary. Even as a child, you noticed the difference. While others blended in, you stood out without even trying. You carried a light that made others uncomfortable. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you represented something right. That light was not learned. It was not borrowed. It was encoded. Heaven planted it deep in your spirit before your first breath. Chosen one. You were marked long before you knew what warfare was. And that mark was not man-made. It was heaven-issued. The world saw a quiet child, maybe even an outcast. But the spirit realm saw a gatekeeper, a prophetic disruptor, a walking answer. You were set apart before you ever said your first prayer. There is nothing accidental about you. Not your birth, not your battles, not even your scars. Every detail has been sovereignly woven together by divine intelligence. That unshakable sense that you were born for more. That wasn't ego. That was eternity, calling you home to purpose. From the beginning, God whispered over you, "This one will be mine." And with that whisper came the angelic seal. You were never without divine surveillance. There were moments you should have died. Moments your mind should have broken. Moments your name should have been buried. But it wasn't, because you were guarded, covered, watched by eyes that do not sleep. Even your rebellion couldn't remove the mark. Even your wilderness couldn't cancel the word. You've wondered why the world hasn't made sense for you. Why you've always felt one step removed from what others call normal. That dissonance wasn't dysfunction. It was distinction. You were not created to fit in, but to break patterns. You were never meant to echo the world's voice. You were crafted to amplify heaven's sound. The enemy saw your mark early. That's why he moved in quickly. That's why rejection came from those closest. That's why doors slammed shut without explanation. The enemy tried to convince you that you were forgotten, but you were never forgotten, you were hidden. Hidden until the appointed time. Hidden until the angels were released. Hidden until your voice matched your mantle. You've carried weight you couldn't explain. burdens you didn't choose, a sensitivity to people's pain, an awareness of spiritual tension, a hunger for truth that couldn't be satisfied with surface answers. That was not accidental. That was your calling, maturing in silence. Some people go through life chasing dreams, but you've spent years navigating divine patterns. Your path hasn't followed logic, it's followed prophecy. And even when you strayed, even when you doubted, the mark remained. There were days you begged God to take it off you. The pressure, the vision, the responsibility. But He didn't, because He knew that one day you'd wake up and see yourself the way heaven always saw you, not as broken, but as chosen, not as fragile, but as forged. That day is today. You are no longer just a believer, you are a carrier, a vessel of sacred order, a bridge between dimensions, a voice that echoes the throne room. There are levels of glory that require levels of suffering, and you, chosen one, have walked through both. But here is the mystery: what marked you didn't destroy you. It made you magnetic. The very pain that tried to silence you is now the platform from which your anointing will roar. You've been asking, why me? But the real question is, why not you? You were handcrafted for this moment, wired with discernment, clothed with grace, saturated in authority. The battles you survived weren't just personal, they were prophetic. Each attack was heaven's confirmation. You're carrying something too costly to go unnoticed. It was never about popularity. It was always about purpose. It doesn't matter who overlooked you. God handpicked you. It doesn't matter who tried to bury you. God resurrected you. It doesn't matter who doubted you. God sealed you. And what God seals, no man can unseal. Even in your silence, you've been prophesying. Even in your brokenness, you've been birthing. Even in your delay, heaven has been preparing. Chosen one, the world may not have given you a platform, but heaven has given you a scroll. And now, angels are moving on that scroll, activating what was written before time began. As we read in Jeremiah 1, Woo. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That knowing wasn't passive, it was active. It was deliberate. It was eternal. And now that eternal plan is breaking into the present, you are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into something ancient. Your arrival has been announced in the heavens. They came for you early. The opposition, the confusion, the silent sabotage. It wasn't random. It was spiritual. Hell marked you the moment heaven did. And the moment your presence entered this world, the kingdom of darkness sent out an alert. Stop this one before they awaken. Chosen one, you have been under surveillance since you were a child, not just from angels but from adversaries. You didn't know it then, but your tears were noticed. Your prayers were recorded. Your resilience was feared. Every time you got back up, you sent a tremor through demonic systems. You've been hunted because you're holy. From an early age, strange warfare tracked you down. Rejection from those who should have protected you. Betrayal from those you loved deeply. Patterns of delay, isolation, and sudden loss. These weren't just circumstances. These were demonic strategies assigned to wear down your identity before you could recognize it. But they failed. You're still here, and that alone is a threat. Hell is terrified of your memory returning, because if you ever truly remember who you were before the trauma, before the labels, before the shame, then nothing in darkness can hold you. You were light before the pain. And that light is reigniting now. Do you want to know why you were misunderstood? Because your spirit carried something ancient, something holy. You've been walking among people who couldn't read your divine frequency. You've been speaking in a heavenly dialect that carnal minds could never decode. But heaven has always known you. The angels assigned to you have never been confused. They have guarded you through suicidal thoughts, emotional breakdowns, and silent nights filled with despair. They saw what you would become, even when you couldn't see it yourself. Every dark season was a tactic to confuse your origin. If the enemy could convince you that you were ordinary, he knew you would never rise. But there's something he didn't plan on: your endurance. He underestimated how deeply heaven embedded resilience into your spirit. This isn't about survival anymore. It's about remembrance. You are remembering that you were called, remembering that you were sealed, remembering that you carry divine DNA that darkness cannot decode or duplicate. Chosen one. It's time to stop asking why things happen to you, and start declaring who you are in spite of them. You were attacked because you are assigned. You were wounded because you are a weapon. You were isolated because God didn't want your oil contaminated by casual voices. You are walking proof that pain can't cancel purpose. You are heaven's proof that storms don't kill mantled ones, they forge them. Even your silence was powerful. Even your collapse carried prophetic weight, because the enemy couldn't finish you off. And now, that same realm that tried to bury you is watching you rise. You are not rising as a survivor. You are rising as a sovereign. This isn't restoration. This is resurrection. The things that tried to suffocate you only awakened you. The fire that tried to consume you has now become the altar from which your voice will thunder. Every trauma is now a testimony. Every loss is now leverage. Every scar is now a seal. And now, with every step you take, the darkness trembles. You are walking in a realm of awareness that cannot be undone. Once your eyes are opened, they cannot be closed. Once you are awakened, you cannot go back to sleep. You have been announced in heaven. And now, hell must back up. The next time the enemy tries to whisper lies to you, remind him that you survived what he sent to destroy you. Remind him that you are still here, still chosen, still rising, and more dangerous than ever. Ephesians 6:11 says, "Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes." You've been armored since birth, and now you're standing, not in fear, but in fullness. The final angelic order hasn't just been activated around you, it's been activated within you. You are not just surrounded by fire, you are becoming it. You will no longer question your worth. You will no longer doubt your authority. You will no longer shrink to fit into rooms you were born to command. The veil is torn. The lie is shattered. You are not a misfit, you are a miracle. Under this message, type, "I remember now." Let it be your prophetic act of reclaiming every piece of your identity that trauma tried to erase. You've walked through fire, chosen one, and yet you were not consumed. You've stood in places where others collapsed, walked paths littered with unseen traps, and endured betrayals that pierced deeper than knives. Still, you kept moving. Still, your heart kept beating. Still, your spirit refused to bow. That's not because you were strong, it's because you were preserved. The hand of God has been upon you the entire time, not to shield you from all pain, but to ensure that the pain never had the final word. There are things you survived that should have taken you out. Situations that broke others completely only broke you open so that more of heaven could pour in. You didn't choose the fire, but the fire revealed the truth. The truth is, you're forged. You've been refined by trials that have made your discernment sharp and your compassion deep. You don't just carry wisdom, you carry weight. A holy weight that can't be taught in sermons or books. This is the kind of depth that only comes from walking through valleys with no map and coming out with vision. The world looks at scars as flaws, but in the kingdom, scars are signatures. Proof that you've walked with God through the shadows. Proof that you've died to self and been raised again with power. What nearly destroyed you has now defined you as unshakable. There's a sacredness to your survival, a glory in your groaning. You didn't just endure, you evolved. The version of you standing now is not the one that entered the furnace. That version died. This one has eyes that see through illusions and a voice that can split lies like thunder. This one is not here to fit in. This one is here to set things in divine order. So many questioned your silence. They mistook your quiet seasons for defeat. But you weren't dying. You were deepening. You were being taught mysteries in the secret place. Mysteries that cannot be articulated in carnal terms, only demonstrated by presence and power. The Holy Spirit didn't just comfort you, He coached you. In rooms where nobody understood your tears, He was decoding your destiny. In moments where you almost let go, He whispered one word that gave you strength to rise again. That word was, keep going. You've passed tests no one saw. Tests of obedience, tests of forgiveness, tests of worshipping in the dark. You kept sowing when nothing was growing. You kept believing when everything around you contradicted the promise. And now, heaven says, it's your time. Time for manifestation. Time for visibility. Time for the fruit to be seen on branches that once looked barren. You are not being elevated for fame. You're being elevated for function, for divine purpose, for impact that transcends timelines and bloodlines. As we read in Isaiah 43:R, when you walk through fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. That verse is not poetry for you. It's reality. You've lived it. You've walked it. You've endured it. And now you're emerging. Not just intact, but ignited. There is a new oil on your life. The kind that can only be extracted under crushing. Your prayers have gained precision. Your worship. Weight. Your words. Fire. Because now, you don't just speak from hope, you speak from experience. People will be drawn to you. Not because you have all the answers, but because your presence feels like peace. Because your story gives others permission to heal. Because your eyes carry the depth of someone who has seen both hell and heaven and lived to talk about it. This is not your reward. It is your responsibility. What God is placing in your hands now is sacred. It's not for applause, but for assignment. You are becoming a steward of mysteries, a carrier of light, a releaser of order. So, walk carefully, but walk confidently. You're not who you were. You're who God had in mind all along. This is why the fire didn't kill you, because the flame was never meant to destroy it, was meant to distinguish. Everywhere you go, you shift the atmosphere. You've probably noticed it. People either draw near to you or recoil without knowing why. Conversations go deeper when you're present. The spiritual climate sharpens when you speak. This isn't personality, it's presence. It's the weight you carry. Your very existence makes darkness nervous because your light cannot be ignored. Chosen one, You terrify the darkness, not because of anything you've done, but because of who you are. You carry light that cannot be hidden. It leaks out in your walk, your words, your gaze. You walk into rooms and the unseen realm takes notice. What others miss, you discern. What others ignore, you feel. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's a spiritual gift. You were never meant to blend in. You were sent to break cycles, to disrupt spiritual slumber, to activate what has been dormant. This is why your life has been so hard, because what you carry is so holy, and yet you've carried it with humility, quietly, obediently. You've endured ridicule. You've suffered in silence. You've waited when you could have pushed. You've hidden when you had every right to step out. All of this has been training for dominion. There are people tied to your obedience, regions tied to your voice, chains that will only break when you step fully into your role. That's why the angelic order is surrounding you now. You're not just being protected, you're being positioned. The spirit realm recognizes your authority before the natural realm does. That's why your life has felt misread, misused, misunderstood. But trust this, heaven has not misfiled your purpose. God wastes nothing, not even the rejection. Every no you received was heaven's redirection. Every closed door was divine preservation. You were never being denied. You were being distinguished. And now, your time has come. Don't rush to prove yourself. You won't need to. When heaven sends you, results will announce you. You won't have to force platforms. The weight of your voice will open doors. You won't have to beg for recognition. The anointing on your life will speak louder than any introduction. It was declared in Luke 10:30. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. That's not metaphor, that's mandate. Your authority isn't imagined. It's inherited. Chosen one. It's time to speak like it. Walk like it. Live like it. There are places you'll go that others can't follow. There are battles you'll fight that others won't see. That's the cost of carrying glory. But you weren't chosen for comfort. You were chosen for command. The same fire that terrified you now answers to you. The same storm that almost drowned you now serves your destiny. What once chased you will now be chased away by you. You are not the same, and neither is your territory. As you move forward, understand this. You are not building a platform. You are building a legacy. You are not chasing visibility. You are chasing obedience. And obedience, chosen one, always pay, always multiplies, always returns with glory. If these words resonate with your spirit, then you already know what you carry is rare, sacred. If you've been searching for alignment, this is it. You are not alone in this call. There's a remnant rising, others like you, who carry divine fire and holy clarity. And if you feel called to stay connected to this flow of revelation and purpose, don't hesitate to join this movement. Subscribe, like, share this message with someone who carries fire but needs confirmation. This isn't just content, it's commissioning. And through your engagement, you are not just supporting a voice, you're fueling a divine sound. For those who feel led to go deeper, to sow into what God is doing here, your giving isn't just support, it's a prophetic seed. Every act of generosity releases a ripple in the spiritual realm. As you give, you're not just partnering with a message, you're partnering with the mission. But whether you give or not, share or not. The call on your life remains sacred, Zoffer ein, sealed. Your mantle is not optional. Your assignment is not replaceable. The world doesn't need another trend. It needs truth. It doesn't need another influencer. It needs intercessors. And that is who you are. Heaven has confirmed it. Earth is about to witness it. Chosen one. The waiting has not been in vain. The delay has not been denial. What felt like divine silence was actually sacred timing. You've been held back, not because you were forgotten, but because you were too precious to be released prematurely. Some call it stagnation, but heaven calls it protection. Every season where nothing seemed to move was, in fact, the season where everything was being aligned. You were being carved for capacity, hardened for holiness, rooted for revelation. While others sprinted ahead in visibility, you were hidden in obscurity because your foundation had to be deeper. If God had released you too soon, it would have killed your destiny. If the spotlight had found you before your soul was ready, it would have distorted the message you carry. He delayed your exposure so he could preserve your essence. Because what you carry isn't just influence, it's intercession. And influence without intercession is dangerous. Now, the heavens are speaking. The delay is over. You are entering a season where time begins to respond to your voice. Doors that stayed closed without explanation will now open without effort. What used to take years will now take moments. The speed is changing because the sequence has been completed. You've passed the test of patience. You've been found trustworthy. This is not your reward, it's your release. You were kept in the wilderness, not for punishment, but for proving. Like Moses, you weren't hidden because of failure. You were hidden because of fire. And now that fire is in your mouth, in your hands, in your voice, you're not just stepping forward, you're being sent. Your delay built endurance. Your delay birthed discernment. Your delay qualified you for dominion. The very things that made you weep will now become the reasons others worship. What you survived in silence will now be shouted in celebration. Heaven is about to use your scars as signs. Romans 8:18 reminds us, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. That glory is not coming. It's arriving. Through you, you are becoming a holy interruption in the lives of others. You're not just receiving a blessing, you are becoming one. There's a pace that belongs to the chosen. It doesn't follow calendars. It obeys the command of God. And now, that command has gone out. Activate. The things that took others a decade will come to you in a divine week. Why? Because your steps are not ordered by trends, they are ordered by the Lord. You're not being accelerated to catch up. You're being accelerated to lead. The years of watching others be promoted while you waited in silence have ended. The tables have turned, and this turning isn't out of revenge, it's out of justice. Because heaven remembers, heaven records, and heaven restores. You are now stepping into prophetic alignment, where your name will be mentioned in rooms you've never entered, and your voice will echo in places your feet have not yet touched. This isn't just favor. This is fulfillment. The final angelic order has made way for you because your hour has struck. You will not miss this moment. You cannot be replaced. You are not behind. You're right on divine time. So walk with confidence. Speak with clarity. Move with certainty. God didn't bring you this far to leave you wandering. If your spirit agrees with this word, if you feel the deep confirmation resonating through every part of your being, then mark this moment. comment 111 below as a prophetic sign. This number represents divine alignment, spiritual fullness, and the beginning of God's perfect timing in your life. You've waited long enough. Now it begins. The atmosphere around you has shifted. You may not see it with your natural eyes yet, but your spirit already knows. There's a new frequency resonating from heaven, and it's moving with you. That's because you're no longer walking unguarded. You're under angelic oversight now. Not common angels, not beginners in glory, but elite forces, strategically assigned, trained in war, commissioned for you. Chosen one. This isn't theory. This is a divine reality. A celestial movement has been stirred, and your name was the trigger. There is now a visible mark in the unseen realm over your life, signaling to every demonic principality. This one is protected. For too long, you've carried the weight of every battle as if you were alone. The sleepless nights, the intense spiritual pressure, the unexplainable warfare. It all made sense in human logic. Stress, fatigue, burnout. But in the spirit realm, something different was happening. You were standing in unguarded territory. Why? Because your angels were awaiting activation. Heaven doesn't release high-ranking angels to the careless. They're assigned to the obedient, the surrendered, the consecrated, the ones who don't just want blessings, but who live for alignment. And now that your obedience has reached the threshold of heaven's timing, the divine has responded. You may feel it now, a strange peace, a sense of sudden boldness, a quiet awareness that you are no longer walking into rooms alone. That's not delusion. That's activation. You are now walking under a divine entourage. These are not decoration angels. These are intervention angels. They are not present to make you feel spiritual. They are present to enforce spiritual law. And the law says, you are chosen, you are sealed, you are covered. They are accompanying you into assignments you've been preparing for in silence. They are preceding you into territories that used to resist your arrival. They are standing behind your declarations, ensuring that your words are no longer echoes, they are executions. You are no longer a lone warrior. You are now a heavenly-backed general. This is why your dreams have shifted lately. Why you've sensed movement when nothing external seems to have changed. Why you've felt pressure on your mind, not as an attack, but like something heavy is waiting to be released. That's not just your intuition. That's your angelic order surrounding your space, recalibrating your atmosphere. The days of spiritual vulnerability are over. God has now released an elite guard around your life. Angels skilled in warfare, fluent in the divine language of your assignment. They know how to defend what you carry. They know how to silence demonic watchers. They know how to intercept attacks you'll never even feel. You're not being paranoid, you're being protected. There were battles forming against you that heaven has already dismantled. There were traps laid in your future that angelic hands have already removed. You'll never know the full extent of what's been blocked. That's the glory of angelic covering. It works silently but effectively. Psalm 91. Vienpatsmit assuresus. For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. This word is not a suggestion, it's a command. And the command has been executed. You are now under watch by those who cannot fail. Even your footsteps are being reordered. Things that would have pulled you off course a year ago now roll off you without effort. You're not the same. Your decisions are sharper. Your discernment is clearer. That's because you're not just walking in wisdom, you're walking in company. Divina company. There's something sacred about knowing you're not alone. Something unexplainable happens when the fear of failure fades, because heaven is standing with you. You begin to walk like you've already won, because in truth you have. Your path has been cleared. Your resistance has been rebuked. Your future has been reinforced. No longer are you navigating purpose by trial and error. You are being led with supernatural precision. What others reach for in confusion, you will receive through revelation. What others struggle to discern, you will declare with accuracy. That's the impact of angelic order. It multiplies your clarity, protects your path, and ensures divine completion. There is a holiness to this season, a solemnity to the presence now walking beside you. Treat it with reverence. You're not just chosen, you're trusted. And heaven does not trust lightly. This is why the distractions are disappearing. The counterfeit relationships are falling off. The noise is fading, because heaven is decluttering your environment for precision. You're not being isolated, you're being insulated. Wrapped in spiritual technology that cannot be hacked by the enemy. You are no longer just being called, you're being carried. The days ahead may look demanding in the natural, but they will be effortless in the spirit, because you've been aligned with help, heavenly help. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is no chaos, only authority, only flow. You are not going to war in your strength anymore. You are moving under orders, and the angels are moving with you. You've walked a path that few could endure. The silence of God, the confusion of delay, the sting of betrayal, none of it broke you completely, though at times it felt like it did. But in truth, those seasons weren't your breaking, they were your becoming. What felt like abandonment was actually sacred isolation. What seemed like punishment was divine protection. You weren't being cut off, you were being set apart. Chosen one. Warriors walk alone. Not forever, but long enough to be forged without distraction. You weren't supposed to find comfort in crowds. You weren't meant to be surrounded by applause. You've been shaped in silence, refined in the shadows. So when your moment comes, and it is coming, you won't collapse under the weight of visibility. People often mistake your solitude for weakness. They see your quiet as retreat. But you've not been retreating, you've been receiving. Instructions, clarity, anointing, discernment. What others gather from seminars and mentorships, you received from raw communion in the secret place. Your loneliness was the classroom where heaven trained you directly. Every unanswered call, every friend that walked away, every relationship that suddenly soured, it all had purpose. It wasn't personal. It was prophetic. Because those who are crowned in secret must first be crushed in silence. There's a weight to your calling that demanded heaven insulate you. Not because you weren't loved, but because you were loved too deeply to be diluted by premature exposure. What was developing in you needed darkness to flourish. Like a seed hidden in soil. The dark didn't bury you, it nurtured you. You've learned to hear the voice of God in whispers, not shouts. You've learned to discern motives without evidence. You've learned to walk without validation. All of that has built a foundation others can't see, but heaven celebrates. Don't despise the quiet seasons. Don't resent the unseen preparation. Every moment of solitude has made you more dangerous to darkness. Every prayer you whispered when no one was watching filled the bowls of heaven. Every tear you shed alone was an investment in the anointing, now rising in your life. When others were posting highlights, you were being hidden in holy places. While they performed, you were being processed. And that process cannot be skipped. because what you carry cannot be faked. You were never called to be a personality. You were called to be a portal, a gateway of glory. And glory doesn't come cheap. There were times you questioned your own worth because of how people treated you. But now you understand. They didn't reject you, they couldn't reach you. You were in another realm entirely, a realm of silence. Yes, but also of separation. And now, separation is becoming elevation. You don't rise with noise. You rise with clarity. You don't move with crowds. You move with heaven's cadence. That's why your walk is slow at times, measured, deliberate, because every step is ordered, every season is strategic, and every silence has been sacred. John 15. Dos declares, He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit He prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. That pruning was painful, but it was proof that you were fruitful. The isolation wasn't because you were forgotten, it was because you were favored. Now, your roots go deep, deeper than the eyes of man can see. And because your roots are deep, your fruit will last. You will not rise only to fall. You will not ascend only to collapse. You've been built to remain. There's something unshakable in you now. A quiet confidence, a holy stillness. The type that can't be taught, it has to be walked through, and you've walked through it. You've gone days without affirmation, and still moved. You've gone months without confirmation, and still obeyed. You've endured silence from heaven and ridicule from people, yet you never surrendered your posture of faith. That's not just obedience, that's allegiance. You belong to God, and the evidence is in your endurance. So now, when people see the favor that begins to rise around your life, they won't understand where it came from. But you'll know. You'll remember the lonely nights, the quiet groans, the prayers with no words, the fasts nobody knew about, the sacrifices no one clapped for. You'll know it wasn't magic, it was surrender. You are now entering a season where heaven begins to restore what you lost in isolation, not in the same form, but in greater measure. The time spent alone was never wasted. It was multiplied in silence. The people coming into your life now will be aligned, not assigned by the enemy to distract. The doors opening now are divine, not disguised traps. The conversations, the opportunities, the direction, it will all carry the scent of heaven, because this season isn't about noise. It's about nuance. You'll notice subtle shifts before major changes. You'll hear whispers before thunder, because heaven trusts you now. With stillness, with silence, with strategy, you're no longer waiting for people to get it. You're walking because God gave it. You are no longer asking to be understood. You are standing in what you've become. The lonely path has ended, but its lessons remain. And those lessons will carry you through everything that's coming. Chosen one. Your calling isn't just personal, it's prophetic. You haven't been chosen simply to be elevated. You've been chosen to be commissioned. Heaven has not raised you up to be a spectator in this hour. You are being thrust into an end-time assignment, the kind that shifts regions, awakens dormant altars, and disrupts the flow of darkness. You are not called to survive the times, you are called to shape them. There's a reason the warfare intensified when it did. It wasn't because you were weak, it was because your time had come. And the enemy always increases pressure when prophetic moments approach. That pressure wasn't random, it was resistance. Because what's being released over your life carries ripple effects in eternity. Your prayers shake dimensions. Your worship reorders atmospheres. Your obedience tears down ancient altars that stood in bloodlines for generations. You're not just stepping into purpose, you're stepping into legacy. You are not walking alone. There's a heavenly agenda now aligned with your every movement. Angels, assignments, and divine insight have been calibrated to your voice. What you decree is not suggestion, it is execution. What you declare is not theory, it is enforcement. The mantle you now carry is not light, it is governmental. It carries authority that cannot be counterfeited. This is why you couldn't stay hidden. This is why you couldn't stay silent. Because silence in your life would have meant silence in regions you're called to activate. You've been asking why the intensity hasn't let up. It's because your life is now a battlefield for destiny, not just yours, but others connected to your voice. You are a carrier of divine blueprints. You are a holy architect, building what eyes have not yet seen. The dreams you've been having, not imagination, they're downloads. The burdens you've felt for cities or nations, not coincidence. They're assignments. God doesn't just call individuals, He commissions them for collective impact. And you, chosen one, are being commissioned as a forerunner in these final days. You've been feeling the urgency because you're part of the solution. You are not a spectator in revival, you are a spark in it. And your time is now. Joel 2:28 says, "And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy." That prophecy is unfolding in your life right now. Not as a spectator, not as a footnote, but as a frontline voice. You will speak, and atmospheres will yield. You will move, and dormant things will wake. You will show up, and systems will tremble. Because this isn't about charisma, it's about calling. You are a warrior with instructions, a vessel with voltage, a prophetic interruption in a world desperate for clarity. God didn't spend years refining you for applause. He prepared you for assignment. You were kept for this moment. You were hidden for this hour. Now you rise. And when you rise, territories rise with you. Families rise with you. Generations rise with you. Because you were never just an individual, you were a doorway. Your mouth is not just for words, it's for weapons. Your steps are not just direction, they're dominion. You don't just walk into spaces, you reclaim them. So get ready. You will begin to notice strange acceleration, divine alignments, unusual clarity, words in your mouth you didn't rehearse. That's the prophetic mantle taking over. That's what it means to be activated. Your instructions are coming. Your steps are ordered. Your influence is anointed. You are not just relevant, you are necessary. Type in the comments, "I am ready." Declare it with your spirit. Stamp it with your faith. Heaven has already responded. You've reached a threshold. Chosen one. The season of indecision is over. The time for wavering is finished. Heaven isn't just calling you, it's demanding your full surrender. Partial obedience won't carry you through what's ahead. This next level requires everything. This is the moment where decisions define destinies. There are no shortcuts left. No space for divided loyalty. You cannot say yes with your mouth and maybe with your lifestyle. You've seen too much, survived too much, carried too much oil to live beneath your mantle. It's time to fully yield. There's a holy seriousness hovering over this hour, a weight in the spirit that won't be lifted until you decide. Will you live as one chosen, or continue hiding among the called? There's a difference. The called may respond when convenient, but the chosen surrender when it costs everything. This is not about sin management. This is about spiritual government. God is not asking for your performance. He's asking for your position. He wants alignment, total access, not just the Sunday parts of you, not just the spiritual language, but your ambitions, your relationships, your fears, your timelines. You've kept fragments on the altar. Now heaven says, bring all of it. You can't ask for angelic protection and ignore divine instruction. You can't demand favor while delaying obedience. What's coming to you is sacred, and only full surrender will unlock it. The weight of this call will crush the flesh, but it will resurrect your spirit. You're not being asked to die for no reason. You're being asked to die to what you were, so you can become what you were always meant to be. Galatians 2:20 reminds us, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. This verse isn't poetic, it's prophetic. You're being called to die, not physically but completely, to let go of your plan, to bury your backup options, to burn the exit routes you secretly kept in case obedience got too hard. Because only when there's no plan B does God begin to release plan heaven. This is not a message for comfort seekers. This is a charge for warriors, for torchbearers, for those who understand that grace is not a permission slip, it's empowerment for total transformation. You've cried out for confirmation, but heaven is now crying back. Obey. Obedience is the access point to overflow. And the overflow coming to your life isn't just provision, it's presence. It's peace that makes no sense, favor that can't be explained, influence that can't be resisted. But it won't come through convenience. It comes through surrender. You're not just surrendering what's bad, you're surrendering what's good. That's not God. There will be divine separations. Old relationships will fade. Some doors will shut without warning. Don't resist it. Don't mourn it. You asked for God's will, and now He's clearing the way. Because what's ahead of you requires clarity, clean hands, an undivided heart. This is the call to full surrender. Not a season, an identity. Not an event, a lifestyle. And once you surrender, heaven responds. The angelic order you've heard about doesn't just protect its partners. It backs your obedience with supernatural power. Delayed destinies get fast-tracked. Closed doors become divine gates. God doesn't delay what's aligned. He only delays what's distracted. Chosen one, you're being summoned to holy maturity. Not perfection. Maturity. The kind that says yes when it's hard. The kind that fasts when no one sees. The kind that lays down dreams because obedience comes first. That is what's being required now. It's not loss, it's investment. Because what you sow in surrender, you will reap in power. Your life is becoming an altar. And what you lay down, God will consume with glory. This message may not go viral. It may not get applause. But for those who hear it, everything changes. Because this is where destiny begins. Right here. In the choice to surrender completely. And if you're one of the few ready to step into that kind of obedience, don't do it alone. Stay connected. Let this space be your upper room. Subscribe, so that you don't miss the fire God is releasing. Like and share this message if your spirit is burning with confirmation. Let this become a point of agreement between heaven and earth. If you feel led to support what's happening here, if these words are feeding your spirit and awakening your purpose, consider sowing. Not out of pressure, but out of partnership. What you help carry in the Spirit, God will bless in your life. But whether you give or not, whether you share or not, know this: the call is still on you. The mantle still fits. The clock has not run out. But the moment demands movement. Surrender everything, because everything is about to shift. Something is breaking in the unseen realm. What was once signed against you in the shadows is now being revoked in the light. The demonic contract, the generational curses, the spiritual agreements made without your consent, they are being torn by the hand of God. This is not symbolic. It's not metaphor. This is legal movement in the courts of heaven. You may not have known the words spoken over your bloodline, the oaths made by ancestors who walked in darkness, the cycles that began long before your birth. But your spirit has felt them, invisible hands trying to delay you, strange resistance that logic couldn't explain, repetitive losses, chronic sabotage, emotional walls you couldn't break through no matter how hard you tried. Chosen one, it wasn't in your head, it was in your bloodline. But hear this: heaven has stepped in. What the enemy wrote, God has nullified. What was legally binding under old agreements is now powerless under the blood of the Lamb. The contracts have been cancelled, not renegotiated, not postponed, cancelled. Every demonic signature against your identity has been overruled by the blood of Jesus. You are not just delivered, you are legally free. The forces that once stalked your path, the familiar spirits that haunted your sleep, the cycles that played out across generations, they are losing their grip. Not because you fought harder, but because the courtroom of heaven has issued a divine verdict. Set them free. And when heaven rules, hell has no appeal. This is why you've felt the atmosphere shifting. Why? What once weighed you down suddenly feels lighter. Why old habits are losing their hold. Why your discernment has sharpened. These aren't personality changes, they're signs of spiritual emancipation. You're walking out of captivity. There were moments you nearly gave up because it felt like something was always pushing back. Every time you advanced, something pulled. Every breakthrough was followed by backlash. That wasn't your imagination. That was warfare over legal ground. But now, the foundation has been replaced. You are not building on cursed soil anymore. You are not patching up what was broken. You're walking in what's brand new. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." That's not poetry, it's prophecy. The weapons may have formed, but they didn't succeed. The words may have been spoken, but they've been silenced. Because the God who defends you doesn't just fight battles, he erases records. There's a holy silence now surrounding the accusations once held against you. The enemy has lost his voice in your life. The files he once pulled up to shame, you have been sealed by God's decree. You're no longer living under accusation. You're standing under affirmation. This isn't just freedom from sin, it's freedom from history. You are no longer defined by what your parents did, no longer tied to the failures of past generations. You are the interruption, the turning point, the proof that mercy still rewrites legacies. There's no need to defend yourself anymore. No need to explain your transformation. Let the fruit speak. Let your peace speak. Let your glow speak. Because deliverance doesn't make noise, it makes progress. The enemy's strategy was to keep you distracted by battles you didn't start. But now, your energy is being redirected. What once drained you will now fuel you. The chains weren't just broken, they were vaporized. You don't owe darkness any more attention. You don't need to bind it again. It's already bound. You don't need to beg for freedom. You're already free. So now, walk like it. Think like it. Plan like it. Your future has been cleared of contamination. Your mind has been wiped of inherited fear. The cravings that once called you back into patterns now echo in a hollow space. They have no access anymore. You're not just walking away from bondage, you're walking into spiritual authority. Because now, you have legal ground to occupy. The very places that were closed off by generational pacts are now opening at your command. Where your ancestors bowed to darkness, you will build altars of fire. Where bloodlines once wept, you will establish wells of joy. This is not about your feelings. It's about your standing. Heaven has ruled in your favor. That means doors that were spiritually locked will now recognize your voice. That means places where you once labored in vain will yield without resistance. That means regions will open up to you, not because of your name, but because of your legal clearance. You are not unauthorized anymore. You've been authorized by blood, sealed by fire, guarded by glory. So, don't revisit what's already been revoked. Don't resurrect what God has buried. Don't answer to names you no longer carry. Because when God cancels a contract, He doesn't leave a trace. Chosen one, you're no longer just a vessel. You're becoming a portal, a living gate between heaven and earth. You've moved beyond being someone who seeks glory to someone who releases it. This is not exaggeration, it's a spiritual reality. The realm within you is beginning to open, and divine activity is flowing through your obedience. There are people who pray for revival. But your life is revival. Your presence carries the frequency of breakthrough. Your voice stirs the spirit realm. When you speak, things shift. When you worship, things move. Not because you're trying, but because you've become. This is the stage where you stop looking for open heavens and start being one. You've been praying, fasting, surrendering. Now, heaven responds by stretching your capacity. You're not being filled to feel spiritual. You're being filled to overflow into regions, families, systems, and spheres of influence. You've become a divine intersection. You've walked through enough fire to host the flame. And now, that fire isn't just purifying you, it's radiating from you. Your life is becoming a divine signal, pulling angelic assignments toward you. Wherever you walk, heaven has a reason to follow. This is what it means to become a portal. You carry the presence. You don't need to announce it. You are the announcement. Demons know it. Territories feel it. Those sensitive to the Spirit recognize it without needing explanation. You've become the tabernacle, the carrier of divine interruption. People will begin to tell you, "I feel peace when you're around," or "I don't know why, but something lifted when I talk to you." That's not you. It's what you're carrying. It's the evidence of the open gate. John 7:38 says, "Whoever believes in me, as Scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them." Not trickles, not drops, rivers. This is what has begun in you. You are no longer just being healed, you're becoming the healer. Not through your hands alone, but through your life, your atmosphere, your sound. The places that once drained you will now drink from you. You used to absorb pain from the room. Now you shift the room. You used to carry burdens. Now you break them. You are becoming a spiritual epicenter. This level of living doesn't come through hype. It comes through surrender. You've paid a price. And now, God is increasing your spiritual volume. The things that used to whisper in you are now shouting through you. The visions, the dreams, the revelations, they are maturing into manifestation. Don't shrink. Don't minimize what's happening. You've been set apart to carry this level of intensity, this level of flow. You are not malfunctioning. You are manifesting. What heaven placed in you is now rising to the surface, not for attention, but for activation. The way you intercede now, that's not just prayer, it's policy making in the spirit. The way you walk into a room, that's not just presence, it's prophetic disruption. You are not just experiencing God, you are expressing Him. So steward this carefully. Your thoughts carry weight. Your words carry force. Your dreams carry direction. Protect the gate. Guard your focus. Maintain the oil. Because what flows through you can't be contaminated by compromise. You are a portal, a passage, a gate. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to build access points for heaven on earth. And that's exactly what you're doing right now. If your spirit agrees with this word, if you know this is describing what's been happening inside of you, then mark it with faith. Comment below. 222. That is the prophetic number of alignment and gateway authority. The flow has started. You've become the door. Something sacred is being sealed in your mouth. The time of silence is ending, not the silence of restraint, but the silence of withheld authority. Your voice is no longer just a sound, it's an instrument, a weapon, a seal. You will speak, and it will happen. This level of prophetic authority doesn't come through excitement. It comes through crucifixion. You had to be broken before you were trusted with this power. You had to learn when not to speak before you could be trusted with words that shift dimensions. God has guarded your tongue for a reason. He shut it when you wanted to lash out. He closed it when you wanted to prove your point. He silenced you when you could have defended yourself. And now, He's unlocking it, not for vengeance, but for vision. Your voice is about to carry weight that no room can deny. Not volume voltage. This is why your words have been tested, why you've been forced to speak carefully, to pause often, to war in whispers. Because heaven was tuning your frequency. You're no longer allowed to talk like everyone else. What you release now doesn't just echo, it establishes. You're being marked as a prophetic voice, not always behind a pulpit, but in your lane, your sphere, your territory. What you say will shape atmospheres. You'll speak into confusion, and clarity will come. You'll declare over sickness, and healing will stir. You'll speak to the wind, and direction will find its place. You're stepping into alignment with divine echo. When you say it, it won't just be you speaking, it will be heaven agreeing. This is not about being right. This is about being in sync with the throne. Psalm 81:10 says, "Open wide your mouth, and I will fill it." That's exactly what's happening. God is filling your mouth with words that carry the weight of eternity. Words that break lies. Words that birth vision. Words that carry movement. This is why gossip had to die in you. Why small talk began to irritate your spirit. Why you've lost interest in conversations that go nowhere. It's because your mouth has been sanctified, set apart, turned into a conduit. You can no longer waste words. Your decree now partners with divine order. There are some things you'll speak over your own life, and it will unlock regions. There are some declarations you'll make in private, and they will uproot structures in public. You're not speaking for reaction. You're releasing for reconstruction. Heaven's infrastructure is now tied to your intercession. This is why you can no longer complain the way you used to. Even your sighs carry weight. Even your silence sends signals. You've reached the point where your voice can't be casual, because it's been consecrated. What you bind will be bound. What you loose will be loosed. This isn't just biblical, it's biological now. It's in your spiritual DNA. The words you speak will carry the fire of the altar, not for performance, not for show, but because you've been forged in reverence. The time for begging is over. The time for declaring has come. You'll stand in rooms of chaos and speak order. You'll sit at tables of compromise and speak conviction. You'll pass strangers in public, and the Spirit will press a word to your tongue that unlocks their destiny. Don't question it. Don't dilute it. Don't apologize for it. You've been trained for this, trusted with this, released into this. What used to be suppressed is now sanctioned. What was once censored is now commanded. This is the weight of prophetic speech. And you, chosen one, have been appointed to carry it. So speak when he says, speak. And stay silent when he says, stay silent. Because your tongue is no longer just yours. It belongs to the throne. Your positioning has never been random. You may have moved cities, changed environments, or found yourself unexpectedly in places you didn't plan for, but every shift has been strategic. Heaven does not guess. It assigns, and you, chosen one, have been assigned to territories. You're not just called to people, you're called to places. There are regions waiting on your obedience. Territories where spiritual climates have remained stagnant, waiting, aching, groaning for a voice like yours, a presence like yours, not just a ministry, but a mantle that can reorder what has been out of alignment for generations. God places his generals with intentionality, and you are not wandering. You are being deployed. Even the places that have felt dry, lonely, or hostile, they weren't mistakes. They were training grounds. Every street you've walked, every neighborhood you've wept in, every workplace where your spirit felt the weight of something unseen, that was territory sensing your presence. Not because of who you are in the natural, but because of who you carry in the spirit. Your life is becoming an altar, and altars claim ground. You don't just influence a room, you shift its atmosphere. This is why warfare increases when you relocate, why certain places seem to push back harder than others. It's not your personality, it's your presence. You carry authority that disrupts spiritual principalities. When your feet touch a place, heaven registers it, and hell resists it. You are heaven's answer to the cry of forgotten lands. The cities you drive through and feel burdened for. The nations that rise in your dreams. The regions you've never even visited but feel drawn to. That's not fantasy. That's frequency. Heaven is revealing your jurisdiction. Every prophet has a field. Every apostle has a map. Every chosen one has an assigned gate. And you're approaching yours. There's been confusion because you've tried to build where God only called you to pass through. And there's been restlessness because you stayed where the glory already lifted. But now, heaven is pointing you to your gate. Not just a good place, but the right place. You are not just a believer. You are a carrier of dominion. Where you go, something shifts. Where you stay, something grows. Where you speak, something awakens. God is aligning your feet with your future. You will soon find yourself in spaces that feel oddly familiar, not because you've been there naturally, but because your spirit has been circling it in prayer for years. You are about to walk into the manifestation of intercession. This is why the wilderness was long, why you were delayed, even when you were ready. Because territory requires maturity. You're not just stepping into land, you're stepping into leadership. There's a difference between being planted and being placed. Planted means growth. Placed means assignment. You are being placed now, not to blend, not to observe, but to occupy. Every region has a sound, and you've been carrying the counter sound, the disruptor note, the breakthrough frequency. God has kept your voice hidden until the land became dry enough to need your rain. Now, the clouds are forming. You are walking into lands that have been barren, not because of a lack of resources, but because of a lack of revelation. What you carry will revive economies, reignite churches, awaken slumbering communities. But it won't come through a billboard. It'll come through your presence. The enemy wanted you to believe you were misplaced, that your life was off track, that you'd missed your moment. But in reality, you've been circling your territory, waiting for the trumpet to sound. Now it sounds, Joshua, 3 declares, every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. This isn't about owning land. It's about reclaiming spiritual ground that darkness has occupied for too long. You are not entering new territory alone. You're entering it with angelic partnership, prophetic insight, and divine backing. So don't just walk, take ground. Don't just speak, plant flags. Don't just visit, establish altars. Because the territory has been waiting, and now, the one sent to shift it is arriving. You weren't born for routine. You weren't created for mediocrity. You were sent to this earth as an answer to a cry. Someone, somewhere, once knelt in desperation and asked heaven for a solution, and heaven whispered your name. You are that answer. Chosen one. You've been hidden, refined, tested, and now revealed, not for spectacle, but for purpose. You carry keys to doors others have never seen. Your presence alone disarms confusion. Your journey has made you a carrier of clarity. When heaven wanted to respond to the chaos of this age, it didn't send a program, it sent a person. You are heaven's answer to earth's cry. And this is why the enemy fought you so viciously. Because every delay in your life was his attempt to stall a solution. Every distraction was an effort to silence the answer. But he failed. You're still here. You're rising. And now, earth will experience the echo of your obedience. There are generations embedded in your obedience. Territories are waiting for the sound of your footsteps. The cry of broken systems, the desperation of a hurting world they've reached, heaven. And heaven has responded by activating you. This is bigger than platform, bigger than fame. This is impact, eternal, irreversible. The gifts you've been afraid to use will now flow effortlessly. The fire you thought had dimmed is igniting into a holy blaze. You will begin to feel it again, that sacred urgency, that quiet roar in your bones that says, now is the time. Isaiah 61:1 says, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted. This isn't just a verse. It's your assignment. It's your identity. You are being called to heal what others ignored, to confront what others feared, to release what others buried. There's a roar inside you that this world needs. Not a shout for attention, but a cry that commands resurrection. You're not loud to be heard. You're loud because something divine is echoing through your soul. The healing you carry won't come from education alone, it will come from your scars. The authority you carry won't come from title, it will come from testimony. Your life is the evidence. Your tears have been the intercession. Your breakthrough is the blueprint. You're not just someone with a message. You are the message. You are the proof that God still speaks, still moves, still redeems. You are walking glory. This is the hour to walk boldly. Don't shrink. Don't hesitate. Don't look for confirmation where heaven has already spoken. You've been activated, not for comfort, but for confrontation. You were born to bring divine order to chaos. Your presence will disrupt demonic systems. Your voice will shatter spiritual glass ceilings. What they thought was impossible will become normal when you step in. You are a divine interruption. You were born for this exact moment. Let the weight of that truth settle deep into your spirit. Let the fire of that knowing burn away fear. You are not just walking in favor, you are walking in fire. And if this word confirms what your spirit has been sensing, stay close. Let this voice continue to water the seeds heaven planted in you long ago. Subscribe to stay connected. Like and share this message with others you know are awakening to their purpose. Don't let them sleep through this sacred hour. If your heart is stirred to partner with what God is doing here, whether through prayer, through sharing, or through a financial seed, do so in faith. Every act of agreement fuels the flame that's rising across this global remnant. But most of all, let this word sink in. You are the answer. You are the sign someone prayed for. You are the evidence that God still raises the dead. The world won't be changed by noise. It will be changed by the sound of obedience. Let your life echo with that sound. Mark this moment, comment, I am the answer. 4 simple words that release a prophetic echo. Let them ring through the spirit realm as your bold agreement. You've heard the call, and you're stepping into it. The shift happened long before others noticed. Heaven moved, and something eternal was sealed over your life. It wasn't announced with fireworks. It didn't come with applause. But in the unseen realm, there was a coronation. While you were doubting yourself, wrestling in silence, trying to stay faithful, heaven was crowning you. Chosen one. You've been crowned in realms unseen. It's why things feel different now. Even if nothing around you has changed. It's why you carry a quiet authority that wasn't there before. It's why people look at you differently, sense something on you. Pause when you enter the room, not because of outward appearance, but because of the mantle. You didn't earn the crown. You surrendered for it. You didn't compete for it. You were chosen for it. And now, everything about your life has shifted, even if no one has told you yet. Because heaven tells the truth before the earth catches up. The angels have already celebrated. The scroll has already been stamped. The realm of glory has already acknowledged your ascension. You were hidden while others were being praised. You were forgotten while others were elevated. But none of that diminished your rank. Because God doesn't crown based on likes or attention. He crowns based on obedience. Your crown was forged in pain, polished in isolation, perfected in surrender. There is a majesty rising in you, not the kind that exalts self, but the kind that bows low in reverence. This is not human royalty. This is divine responsibility, a crown that represents weight, authority, sacrifice, intercession. You are not just walking in favor, you are carrying a royal assignment, and that assignment cannot be revoked, no matter who refuses to recognize it. The world looks for titles, Heaven looks for temples. And that's what you've become. A walking sanctuary. A consecrated vessel. A dwelling place of presence. There will be days ahead where your authority will be tested, not by people, but by pressure. Situations will arise that attempt to convince you that you're not who God says you are. Don't believe them. Because the crown isn't always visible to the natural eye, but it's always felt in the spirit. You don't have to prove it. Just walk in it. You've been crowned for moments that require silence, for rooms that demand discernment, for conflicts that need mercy, not might. You will lead not just with strategy, but with spirit. Not just with wisdom, but with weight. Zechariah 3:4 echoes the moment. See, I have taken away your sin, and I will put fine garments on you. That exchange has already taken place. The filthy garments are gone. The royal robes have been placed. You may still remember the wilderness, the failures, the past. But God remembers the yes, the surrender, the quiet obedience. And that's what was crowned. This is why you've been seeing through things more clearly, why you can't tolerate what you used to, why your soul feels allergic to compromise. Because the crown refines. It adjusts vision. It demands a new posture. You don't walk with pride, but you walk with purpose. You don't speak with arrogance, but with anointing. You are now walking in rooms, not as a participant, but as a presence. You don't ask for access, you are access. Doors don't open for you, they open because of you. You are not here to impress. You are here to embody. You are the proof of what happens when someone says yes to the call, when they die to their flesh, when they endure fire and refuse to quit. And now, the heavens wear your name like a banner. You're not just marked, you're crowned. You're not just known, you're entrusted. Everything has changed. The air feels different. The pace of time has shifted. And though the world around you may look the same, the realm you now walk in has been fundamentally transformed. Chosen one. The shift has officially begun. This is not the shift you prayed for once or twice. This is the culmination of years of spiritual tension, layers of silent obedience, and moments when your faith had no evidence but still refused to bow. You are now stepping into what you were born for unapologetically, undeniably, and irreversibly. This is the moment where destiny stops being a concept and starts becoming your rhythm. You've been waiting for a sign. This is it. Everything in the heavens is now aligning around your assignment. You are not being positioned, you have been positioned. What you used to pursue is now pursuing you. What once required striving will now be accomplished through flow. The season of scraping for crumbs is over. The table has been prepared, and your seat is sealed. But you're not sitting at this table to be fed alone. You're here to serve, to speak, to activate. Your walk is now apostolic in nature, not because of a title, but because of your impact. You are being sent into environments not just to adapt, but to transform. You will walk into systems and see their weaknesses. You will discern what others call normal and call it by its real name. Spiritual complacency. You will challenge culture not with condemnation, but with clarity. Not with fear, but with fire. You've outgrown old languages. The conversations that once fulfilled you now feel empty. That's not arrogance, it's ascension. You've crossed into new frequency. Your ears are tuned to the throne, and your eyes are fixed on eternity. The distractions no longer hold weight. The noise has no hold on you. There is a seriousness in your step now, a stability in your spirit. A silence in your soul that shouts louder than any sermon. What you've become is rare. Heaven has waited for a generation who wouldn't sell out for platform, wouldn't water down the word for popularity, wouldn't compromise for applause. And that remnant is rising. You are part of it. There will be moments you feel the loneliness again, but it won't be the same. This time, you'll recognize it as distinction, not abandonment. This time, you won't beg for proximity, you'll wait for alignment. You've learned the value of waiting, and now you will reap its reward. Peace. You're not chasing influence. You are becoming influence. The dreams you once questioned are now moving into form. The prayers that felt buried are now becoming harvest. The prophecies spoken over you that seemed impossible are now aligning in rapid succession. You'll begin to see divine patterns, conversations you didn't expect, connections you didn't chase, confirmations without effort. Because the shift is not partial, it's total. And as the shift begins in you, it will ripple into everything around you. Relationships will stretch. Assignments will elevate. Demands will increase. But you won't be overwhelmed. You've been built for this. Every breakdown was a blueprint. Every silence was a sentence being written in heaven's script. Every no was a setup for divine release. Romans 8:30 says, "And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called. He also justified. Those he justified. He also glorified." That's not future tense. That's already happened. You are now stepping into the evidence. You've carried promise like seed in dry soil, but the rain has come, and with it, fruit. There will be no more striving to prove your worth. You've been approved in private. There will be no more fear of missing your moment. The moment has become you. This isn't the final chapter. It's the full emergence. The unveiling of what was always in you, but until now, had been under development. You don't need another sign. You don't need another prophetic word to remind you. This is the shift. This is the time. This is the revealing of God's chosen one. Chosen one. What you've just heard wasn't just a message. It was a mirror, a mirror into your spirit, a confirmation of everything you've been sensing, wrestling with, and awakening to in this season. You're not just on the path, you are the path for others. Your life is not an accident. It's a divine instruction. You have crossed into a realm where heaven responds to your movement. You no longer walk as a seeker, you walk as the found, the tested, the trusted. Everything you've endured has prepared you for this unveiling. And now, it's your time. If this journey through the final angelic order has stirred something deep within you, if it's awakened your clarity, restored your focus, or confirmed what you've carried in silence, then don't just let this pass. Engage. Move with it. Let your voice become part of this prophetic echo. Like this message, so it continues, reaching those who feel isolated in their divine journey. Share it with someone who's felt forgotten, but is actually marked. Comment your confirmation. Let your agreement sound off in the atmosphere. Subscribe so you don't miss the words that will continue unlocking the next layers of your calling. And if your spirit is led to sow, whether in prayer, in financial support, or in spreading the message, do it with expectancy. This space is not just content, it's commissioning. And when you support divine fire, heaven responds. You are not the same. This was not a story, it was a summons. You've been chosen. You've been crowned. You've been released. Walk in it.